Hello, sorry my friends, my name is Erick Tjandra and my student ID number is B1024181029. So I'm from International Management class batch 2018, and then I would like to answer the midterm test of organizational behavior. Yeah, there are three parts of the question that I will answer about the midterm of organizational behavior. So I would like to start in the part 1. So how often do you attend the lecture via Zoom and why? Actually, I always attend the lecture via Zoom, and then because I really curious about this subject and I want to learn about organizational behavior. And I'm so curious about the learning that will impact me in the workplace and our organization. So I really interested to learn this subject. And then the next question is, what topic have you studied from the book for the 6 meetings of organizational behavior, and what can you get from the topic discussed? So actually I have learned a lot of topics during the 6 meeting in OB, and I have already learned about attitude, and then leadership, and then the definition of the OB itself, and then the job satisfaction and emotion and moods. So based on the topics that I learned, that I got a knowledge about the OB itself and then the definition of the OB. And then I also learned about the personality that will impact in the workplace or in the organization. And then it is a really interest to me that I can learn that, so I can implement it when I work in the when I have a job. And then besides that, I also learned about how to control myself, yeah, because one of my friends has already present about emotion and the moods, and then how to maintain your moods or emotions when you get to work. And then it is really useful for them because they have already given us tips to maintain our moods and emotions to be more professional during at work. And then the last is about how we see a people perception. Yeah, as we know, we cannot judge people directly without seeing their sides. So that's why all of the perception we must take it, and then we must analyze it first before we can perceive that their perception. And then I'll like to move to the part B. So this is it contains around several questions. So I would like to move for the first question. So the first is, what is OB according to the 5 experts, and why is OB important in a company? So I've already taken 5 experts that I get it. The first is a Griffin. So the Griffin says that organizational behavioral is an extent to which an individual knows and is bound to the organization. A highly communicate individual is likely to see himself as a true member of the organization. And then the next is Fred Luton. Fred Luton says that organizational behavioral is defined as the study and application of knowledge and how people, individuals, and groups act in organization. And the next is D. Stephen P. Robbins. He says that a field that investigates the influence caused by individuals, groups, and structure on human behavior in organization with the aim of applying knowledge that can improve organizational effectiveness. Then the next is Matters John H. Jackson. Organizational behavioral is how organizational members believe and accept organizational goals and desire to stay with or leave the company, which is reflected in the organization of the organization. And then the last is Andrea, Gito, Sudarmo, and Nyoman Sudita. It says that the field of science that studies human interactions in organizations, which includes the systematic study of the behavior of structures and process in organization. And then so the first is about why OB is really important in the company. So the first is we can understand a form of behavioral which then occurs in our organization. So indeed, when we learn about the OB, we will know about the structure in the company itself, based on the behavioral of the personal workers. And then the next is carrying out control with the form of behavioral which then exists in an organization. So it tells about that organization behavioral can be expected be able to reduce the occurrence of various forms of errors which will be obtained from individuals in organization. So the last is about how we forecasting will detect various forms of events that occur. So it means that the role of an organization will provide prediction toward the organizational behavioral. So for example, like a various kinds of events, and then also events that occur within an organization. And then the next question is moods are different from emotion in three main respects. What are they, and explain them? So based on what I get from the answer, so as we know that the differences between being a good mood and then a bad mood, it is depend when we are feeling happy or feeling cheerful, or maybe when we sad we will have a bad mood. So it means that it has a relationship between the emotion toward the moods. And then when we for example, when we have when we angry with people, and when we have get a bad accident, it maybe will affect our moods. So indeed, it is have a relation. And then moods are different from the emotion in the three respects. As we know, the first is moods tend to be much more long-lasting, going for hours or days, whereas the emotion may only last minutes. And then the second is emotion are about something specific, such as a person or situation, but moods are much more diffuse, with no identifiable object. A mood is general feeling, not a reaction to a particular situation. And then the third is moods are not as intense as emotions, which is can be strong feelings such as exhilaration, terror, or despair. In contrast, you might not be consciously aware that you are the good or bad mood until you reflect on your response of the situation. Okay, so I would like to move to the next question. So what is the relationship between the behavior and the performance in an organization? So as we know that to understand behavior according to the sermon quoted by Toha, namely, organizational behavior is a way of thinking, a way to understand problems and explain the findings and action of solution in real terms. So as we know that the relationship between organizational behavioral and employee performance, namely organizational behavioral, is a function of the interaction between individuals and their environments, which can affect employee performance. So to simplify it, we know that organizational behavioral will affect their employee performance in the workplace. So we know that in effective organization, as a leader has an obligation or maybe a policy to understand its employee behavior. So as we know that because they have an expected result of any organizational behavior is the result of effective work, meaning that every job can be completely within a specific standard of time. So as we know that employee performance is a part of the group that ultimately become a part of organizational performance. In an effective organization, a leader has an obligation to understand every employee, because it is really important for the leader to know one by one of the employee toward their behavioral that will impact the performance in the workplace. And then for the example, if we know that someone is motivated, he will try to best to achieve their goals whenever they have already set their goals itself. And then not necessarily high effort will result in the high performance. So it will take the intensity and quality of these efforts to focus on organizational goals. However, if we have an employee that don't get any motivated, they will have a good performance during their work. So it is really important to the leader to know its employees' behavioral. And then the next is please explain the rule of affect, mood, and emotions. So as we know that affect is a general term that refers to the range of the feelings of the employee experience at work. So to differ it, we know that moods and emotion has a different way. We know that affect consists of the emotion and moods. That affects refers to feelings experienced in the short term and then the fluctuative over time, whereas threat affect refers to stable individual differences, and then the emotion are triggered by specific events and are brief but intense enough to disrupt a person's thinking, lasting only seconds or minutes. So okay, I would like to move to the next question. So the next question, I mentioned the 9 sources of emotions and moods and explain them. So what I get is the first is about the personality. Yeah, as we know that all individual has their own personality that will as the brainwash of the people toward their performance or the workplace. As we know, the personality is really important to know, because all of people have their own personality. So that will all of people have different personality, and then it means that we also differ and how instantly we experience the same emotion, while those who are effectively intense experience good or bad moods and emotions more deeply. And then the next is day of the week or time of the day. So it means that you will have guessed by now that people tend to be their worst mood early in the week and their best mood late in the week. So it is we can see from the people that really want to face a new day. For example, like a Monday, yeah, they don't really like a Monday because it is time for them to work again, rather than they go to the Thursday or Friday that are near to the Saturday and Sunday. So it will affect moods and people's emotion toward their daily life. And then the next is a weather. As we know that weather can impact people to have a good mood or maybe a bad mood, or maybe have a bad emotion or good emotions. So have you heard that illusionary correlation? It is a tendency of people to associate two events when in reality there is no connection. Many people think so, but the weather has little influence in our moods. So it means some of people really like rainy weather. It will make people feel comfortable. Maybe some of people maybe will really enjoy in that weather. And then we will move to the next. The next is about the stress. As we know that stress can affect our moods and emotion negatively. Yeah, because sometimes when people stress, they cannot think clearly. They also have a big burden in their thought, and then it will affect the build over time, and constant level of stress can worsen our moods and emotions. So it will impact badly in our emotion and moods. So the next is about social activities. Yeah, as we know that for most of us, social activity increase positive mood and have a little effect on a negative mood. So it means that a positive mood 6 hours social interactions and a physical, informal, and others activities that are more strongly related to the positive mood than the former is or sedentary events. And then the next is sleep. Yeah, as we know, people need sleep. They need to take a rest, yeah, for their talk, and then they must get a good talk, yeah, during the day that they will face. And then I bet that the sleep is really good way for people to relax their time, and then they will get more refreshing when they do sleep. Okay. And then as we know that indeed sleep quality does affect mood. If you're really tired, indeed you will feel that you have not a good mood. You will get angry easily, or you don't really want to do something because you are tired, you don't have a good talk, and then you need a relaxing moment to fix your talk. And then we know that sleep can help us to repair our mood, can fix our mood and emotions during the day that we face. Okay, so the next is about the exercise. As we know, the exercise enhances a positive mood here, because as we know that when we do exercise, we will reduce the stress, and then we will more refresh with positive thoughts, and then it will reduce negative moods. So it is a really good for us to have exercise. And then the next is age. Yeah, as we know that negative emotions seem to occur less as people get older. So when people get older, they will more temperament, and then they will more sensitive because of the age. So highly positive moods last longer for older individuals, while bad moods fade more quickly than for younger people. And an emotion experience improves with age. But sometimes when we get older, we will get more temperament. Sometimes we will get more temperament, and then we not have a stable emotion or even moods. And then the next is about the genders. As we know, the women are more emotionally expressive than men, because when the days come, the woman will more sensitive rather than men, because they have hormone that will make their emotion not really good. So this is a really things that we must know, yeah, about the woman itself. And then as we know that the woman display more frequent expression of the negative emotion when they have a problem, and then they have a hormone that will make the woman feel uncomfortable for that. And then as we know that this is the men, they display more frequent expression of positive and negative emotion except anger. Yeah, this is because men are taught to be tough and brave. So the women are social and monitoring, so they more positive, so they show more positive moods. And then the next question is about how does personality influence the employee's performance at work, and explain your answer and support it with its journal. So based on the journal that I take is personality affects all aspects of the person's performance. So we know that the personality of the of people have its own different. So even how he reacts to situation on the job, but remember, not every personality is suited for every job. So it is a really good information for us to know that a personality will affect how people's do their performance in the work. So because not all the personality will suit with the job that they take. So as we know that it is important to recognize that a personality trait and pair employees with the duties that fit their personality the best. Besides that, it leads to increased productivity and job satisfaction. So helping your organization to be seen as a vehicle to drive behavior. So most of the personality traits will be seen for the big five. And then I would like to move to the next question. So there are many ways to measure personality, but psychologists have mostly given up on trying to divide humanity neatly into types. Instead, they focus on personality traits. The most widely accepted of these traits are the big five. So there's three questions. So the first is explain the ways how to measure personality, and then the next is what are personality traits, and then the last is what is the big five. Explain and give the examples. So I would like to move to answer the first question. So the first is there are so many ways to measure the personality as following. So the first is MBTI, because we in the class we have already do that test. Yeah. So the MBTI, the abbreviation of the Myers-Briggs type indicator. It is a popular personality test, which is we will know what kind of the personality that we have. So for example, like you're an extrovert or an introvert person, and then you are intuitive, or maybe you're judging people. So many type of personality that we can get using the MBTI test. And then the next is about the Neo PIR. So it tells about how we measure the personality traits using the 5-factor models. And then according to the 5-factor models, the 5 dimensions and the personality lies along the continuum of opposing poles. So it is most likely ocean that I have already explained it before. So the next is about the thematic appreciation test. So it is one of the personality tests that we can get, or we can try it. So it consists of the 30 cards, including 1 blank cards, so depicting ambiguous drawings, and then test takers are asked to help to tell a story about each picture, and then including the background that lead out the story and the truth and feeling of the characters. And then I would like to move to the next question. So I would like to answer it. So it is about the personality traits explanation. So as we know that the personality traits are reflecting people's characteristic patterns of thoughts, and then feeling and behaviors, and the personality traits that imply consistency and stability. And then the last question that I will answer is about the Big 5 models. So as we know that the Big 5 is like about the personality traits that is known as the 5-factor models. So before I've already explained it, so I will explain it about the explanation itself, and then about the example. They also using ocean models. So the first is O. It is openness and tendency to appreciate new art, ideas, values, feelings, and behaviors. And then the next is about the extraversion. So it is a tendency to talk active and sociable and enjoy others. And then the next is agreeableness, that it tells about the tendency to agree and go along with others, rather than to assert on one's own opinion and choices. And then the last is about the N. So it tells about a neuroticism, that a tendency to frequently experience negative emotions such as anger, worry, sadness, as well as being interpersonally sensitive. And then I would like to move to the next question. So the next question is about what are type A and type B personality. So as we know that the type A and type B has different meanings. So type A is more intend to be more closer, rushes continuously, and stresses out. That is a type A. So that is include a hostility and impatience, a difficulty, expression of emotions, and a competitiveness, a drive, perfectionism. And about the type B, the personality, people be more relaxed, and then they don't really get a rush when they do something, and then they are more being patient, and then it is more tolerant about the other things that they have already faced it. And then they are more relaxed than the type A individuals. They are more relative experience level and of agency, and display a higher level of imagination and creativity. The type B personalities, by definition, are noted to live at lower stress level. They typically work steadily and may enjoy the achievement that they have already got it. And then although they have a greater tendency to distress physical and mental stress. And then the next question is about there's a link about the test yourself using links that Sir has already given to us. It said that open this link and you must do the test of personality and look at your scores and describe your behaviors, and how does your behavior influence your study and your work. And as your friend, 2 friends but that to take this personality test. So as based on the result, I get a 41 using the type A. So it means that the rate of the impatient, so I get a 41. High rate impatience, so it means that my interaction with others, while generally characterized by warmth and tolerance, are also at times tinged with impatience and hostility. So when I'm stressing at our first step, I will get easy to angry with other people whenever they don't make me angry. So I have already asked my friends to do this test, and then my friends have already get the test, and my friend Stephen get 46, that is higher than me, and then the Maruf get a 31, lower than me. So what I have got from that, as we know that in the 31, so Maruf have enjoyed their life. They don't really get angry easily. They have a good patience, and then that is not a really bad person. And I think it have a lower impatience, so it means that he have a good patience for people. And then for how it will influence in my study and work, I think whenever I can control myself, I can remember what the goals that I must receive, and then I must do a professional. I think it will slightly reminds me to be a good person, to be more patient rather than before. And then we move to the part C. So this is a question related to the video that sir has already given to us. So there are two links that we must open it. So I would like to move the first question, and I've already see it. And so before the video, so the first is what are the first and second video about. So the first video is tells about the perception process of the student to understand. The second video is about the perception, how we perceive things. So there is a different topics that we get it from both of videos. So the next is who are the speaker in the video. So the first video, the speaker is Emily McWorthy, and the speaker in the second video is from Wings Education's channel. Okay, so I would like to move to the next question. So it is what do the speaker explain to you in this video. So actually based on the first video that I already get about how the speaker try to make the students understand about the perception itself. And then the perception is how to it makes a sense of the things, and then how we make a judgment about the things. And then basically people make the perception based on the background of the people itself, or maybe based on the story of the people itself. But it is really hard for us to use that method to perceive people using that background. There is a really bad way, so that's why the speaker want to teach the student using several steps to use a perception. So the first is about a selection, organization, and interpretations. So the first is about a selection. It tells about the first step in the selection process. We choose some things to focus on. For example, if we are in the classroom, there's a lot of things going on in the classroom, and then indeed there are a student and then a teacher, people also in the class, so you need to focus on one thing. So you are going to choose to focus you focus on, that is a teacher. So because you're in the class, indeed you must focus on teacher. So that is you're gonna to perceive and perception about the teacher what's doing. And then the next is about the organization. As we know that it is the process going to analyze what the teacher is doing, and then you put into your brain, compare it for the past experience with the present experience. And then the easiest way for us to perceive and organize is by looking at the idea proximity. And then the next is about interpretation. So this is example, if you are a teacher and then you're talking very loudly and in voice, underlining the words he is saying and really pointing to the word that he wrote on the board, and then you analyze it and put it all through your own frame on references. In your experience, when someone is pointing at a word and underlining, it means there are really important things that they want to convey to us. And then for the second video, it is explained about the perception and how we perceive. And how do we perceive? The select information we want to see and start thinking that that is the only way to things are. The factors of the influence or perception is our intention and interest. but sometimes we perceive things because of the background and size. But actually, that is not a really good perception when we want to perceive things based on the background and the size. For example, if we we have a perception toward the people using the background, it doesn't mean our perception will correctly 100%. People may change, so that's why we cannot judge it by using their own backgrounds. So the next is, what can you get from watching the two videos? So from the first video, I can get that that is not a good way for us to have a perception toward the people using their background and then their story or experience. There are several steps about the perception that the speaker teach for the student. For example, the first is about the selection, and the second is about the organization, and then the last is about interpretation. And then about the second video that I get is about how we can get the information and then start thinking that it's only way to things are, for the positive influence of the perception in our intention and interest. And then the next is about how important is perception to employees and company. So in employee relations, the perception is really important because the perception is formed by the organizational behavior or organizational rules as a leader, as a start of the communication of the knowledge, or maybe the communication in the workplace itself. So that is really important for the organization to have a perception, because sometimes the perceptions will make a forecasting toward the future of the company itself. Because by perception, we will know, we will try to acknowledge the things that we want to achieve. And then the next is about the perception. Sometimes perception might come true when we do a perception oftenly and then we get a bad result. It will change our perception itself by independently. So it will change our perception to be more accurately. So that's why perception is really needed in the company itself. Not only that, the proper and effective supervision is required to prevent the employees from having a wrong understanding. So that's why the perception is really important for the misperception. And then the employee perception is a significant factor in employee acceptance and satisfaction of job. So a good perception will create a positive working environment. So that's why the perception in the organizational might be important. So that's why that is important of the perception in the workplace. I think that is about my video. Thank you for your attention.